Finally, just waiting for the other laptop to catch up, which is doubtful. Definitely doubtful, because it's now loading the page. Well, hello everyone. I did try and go live early, but it won't let me because the time was scheduled, and then the page froze, so I had to refresh it. And maybe the volume's not working. Come on, touchscreen's not in. It's decided to load an entirely different page. Finally. It's refreshing again. Don't mind Affinity, Tesco's, whatever it is. It was a hand-me-down from my mother-in-law when she went to pastures new. The ones up there. So, good evening. I've lost everyone on chat now because this page is froze. So, evening, Joshua, Mick, Flymo, Tom, Chris from Valleys, and anyone else I've missed. Oh, the ready page. So, come on. A bit laggy behind here as well. Evening, Ivo, Dara. Let me try and refresh this page to catch up. So, yeah, first is first. Throw that in the bin. It's beer o'clock, Mick. Unlike Mark, it's not Dr. Pepper. Life and Death Classic IPA, apparently. Normally they're a little bit overcarbonated, so evening, Digger. Evening, John and Holly. I'll read the chat on both of them. I don't know whether the other one's keeping up. I've logged in on my other channel. I was gonna attempt StreamYard, but I thought because I set the stream up last week so that Mark could post it, I daren't mess around with any of the settings because obviously I think you need a stream key, which obviously I hadn't got. And I don't know whether this laptop is going to be fast enough for StreamYard. I am getting my wife's old one and she's got a new one, but it's not high end for what she needed, so it might not be a lot quicker than this. It is Windows 11. So I'll have to spend hours resetting all the privacy settings on it to stop Bill Gates spying on me. So we'll try that another time. Evening, Hermitage. Mons. Hi, Mons. So, yeah. So not much happened this week. I sort of gave myself till last weekend to finish the first stage of the project, which I think is on a YouTube short or an Instagram, where I walk around my plot ready for the shed. I did get that done by Sunday, so not Sunday, Saturday even. So Sunday I started the patio and moved some hardcore in and whacker plated that down on the Monday, and discovered that the big round 16 slabs I've kept for donkey's years ready to go down in the patio are now far too big a circumference for the space that's left. So I've either got to cut several of them to fit or think of something again. I've now spent today pressure washing a load of bricks that I've had in storage and block pavers that I've got to go back in the patch bit that was took out of the old part of the patio when I built the lean-to, and they put a ramp in for us out the back door. So that was it. I was going to start the car this week, but I paid the price for doing all of the donkey work, so I've left it for now and just sort of had light duties the last couple of days to try and let me my body catch up, which isn't working yet. But I think the weather's going to take a turn next week, so we'll have to play that by ear. But yeah, it's a welding job next week if the weather's okay. Then we can get the van back on the road. I'm not going to tax it until June because I don't need it until June, so no point in paying for a month's tax when it's going to be sat in the drive when I've got the other car taxed. So the joys of taxation. Can't even escape it when you're not working. Yeah, I think you're going to get it first, aren't you? Up in Scotland, Flymo. And then it's sort of moving in. It was a bit cloudy last night. I came out here and had a little play testing things because I'm still having a problem with the inner loop on this track. Continuity and the fact track line is not very good. And obviously, I guess, I think an undetermined amount of time that this was sat in its garage in its previous life, moving and whatnot, and then it's been in here. There's quite high humidity in here during the winter, and now we've had sort of a bit of a dry spell. I think humidity at the minute is 63 because I just had the little heater on as well. It was 58 earlier, but so whether some of it is moved or not, but the inner one is worse than the outer. I still get a couple of problems. I had one of the American Bachmans, and it does not like this bit here, even though I've shimmed it and took the pins out and moved it, and it's pretty flat. But I think there's a pitch change here when my finger's running, and that tends to do that. And I don't know whether the Bachman has got 3-axle drive. There's no giving it. My English Bachman Class 47 was fine, but the American one wouldn't have none of it. It derailed here, it derailed over there, derailed on the points, derailed down on the bend. So I'm going to try the Athern over there later on and see if that runs on the track, whether that's going to be better or worse or no better at all. And I've swapped out the 47 for a Hornby 60 for today's running. So I was in the process of then transferring some of this stock over onto the main track, because again I can't show you with this camera because it won't go far enough, but up the corner there where this cross piece joins, I think he had it on some kind of removable section. I've sort of screwed it together and I did true it up, but this inner ramp, inner track, there's a gap and a pitch change in the two where the rails join across. The other side's occasionally problematic, but not too bad. But the inside is a bit of a pain, and exactly the same problem over there. And you'll notice a strange green oil tank, which is my 3D printing escapades. I'll just show you now. So on the soundbite. Wheel over and catch that. Tree. Hi, Lyndon. I don't know, Flymo, how much work it done. Hi, Dave. So we printed this off from a French design. I went for this one because it's sort of the earlier style tank that I remember as a kid. in town, and it comes apart. They were where the supports were, the little discs to print the top part, but they also locate two lugs in each one. The reason I took them all out is because when this cools, you do get a slight, some of them aren't sitting flat, so you get a little bit of movement, so you end up having to pop out all of them. Each ring, whoops, it's an oil tank. Each ring takes about an hour and a half, although some of these, I've got the bamboo A1, which has got sort of like the 100% setting. Then you can do 127%, which is what they call sport mode, and then I think there's 164% speed, which is what they call ludicrous. Now, some of these were printed in ludicrous mode and some in slow speed or standard speed, and you can't really tell if I turn the lighting down a bit. It's not really focusing. Oh, there we go. So they're all in different, you know, the speed does sacrifice the quality slightly, supposedly. Didn't seem to on this. So it has done on other things. I printed some battery holders for my lad for his Ryobi. And you could see the layer lines change slightly. It didn't really affect the build quality on something like that. But yeah, this is pretty good. The only thing that isn't great is the roof. You can see that inner piece there from the, I don't know what these were there for, whether they're for pipes. You can see the layer lines are flat there, and it is like a cake. That is all solid infill in that, which is where it ate into the build time quite a bit more. To print the roof was twice as long. It was nearly 3 hours. I did get it down to sort of like 2 hours 40 minutes in ludicrous mode, which is maybe why that isn't quite as good. But I think with a bit of a heavy application of filler primer on the lid, on the roof section, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not really going to see much of it because I do low angle filming. But I have got another alternative file to print another tank, which probably be a bit more simplistic. And if you've, I think Dino's not in because I think he's at hospital with his dad, but he got the bridge file, which you might have seen on his Facebook post, which is this. Comes in modular sections. So you've got your staircase. The only thing that doesn't come out very well is this, like an access door at the back, which doesn't seem to, for some reason, to print very well. And you've got your intermediate sections that go there from your walkway. They're keywayed, so they'll fit in when you glue them together like that. And let's clip together. So another time it won't hold together, which is why I haven't got anywhere big enough. And then your walkway, you've got various options on widths on the files. So if you've got, say, like this, going across to your next pair, that goes, it is the right way. That would go across like that to your next bridge, to your next pair. So you can basically, this is the longest one they do, which I think is 12 centimeters, 5-6 inches. There are shorter versions of it, and then you just print another one of these, and then there's like an intermediate version of this. There's also a support pair that you can build if you don't want one of these. You can just have like a brick pier and a support, like a bridge. But you can keep going and going and going. If you had a but that was quite. I think the file's only about $4. It's a British supplier, but it's on CG Trader, so it's all done in dollars. So you do get hit with a conversion fee when you buy it. And this was a bridge we test printed. It turned out, obviously, it was N gauge. But I was sort of so far into it, I came back in and thought, that doesn't look right. No, that's N gauge. Okay, so if anyone wants an N gauge twin track bridge, then I have one surplus to requirement. I do have N gauge, but I don't think. Hiya, Brian. I don't think I'm going to be able to accommodate an N scale in a workable environment with the HO 00 big layout in there. I haven't, Mick. I nearly bought some on Amazon last week. They were 47 quid. I know Richard at Road and Rails was sort of doing them as cheap as he could, which wasn't as cheap as. But I looked the next day and they'd gone back up to 50 something pound. But to be honest with you, I can buy ESU decoders for like 79 quid from Germany. So I'd rather have an ESU that I can program with any sound available than an HM one that. I just hope they've improved in the 2 years after all of the problems they had with them to start with blowing up and frying the electrics on them, and people sending them back for another one, and then another one goes wrong. I think, is it Steve in America? He bought some for his Hornbys, and I think he's had some problems with them. So I'm still on the fence a little bit with them. But yeah, they're not bad at 55 quid if you can pick them up for 55, 59 quid. I mean, some people are paying that still for TTS chips. But, I'm still a little bit, if you're paying 60 quid for them, I can go to Model Barn Shop Lippy and get an ESU V5 for 20 quid more and just bung it on an order, which is what I have done the last 2 times when I've ordered stuff from Germany. I've put an ESU chip in the order and got one in. I've got an 8-pin and a 21-pin V5, which come with a speaker and everything. But well, this one's still got a TTS chip in it, because that was one I bought for 100 quid off eBay before they started the private buyer tax crap that they're now doing. And I had picked up a brand new one from Hatton's, I guess 3 or 4 years ago, if not more, for 114 quid. But it had a load haul body on it, which is obviously out of my period because it's obviously privatisation. So I patiently waited in the hope that I could either buy a knackered, damaged one and you swap the bodies. But someone on eBay did have a job lot of brand new shells. They were a bit more money than I wanted to pay, but I did buy one, so I'm going to swap the load haul body to a sector body. So that I think they give me 3 Hornby 60s. Which is still cheaper than buying a Cavalex one. I'm sure they're nice, but they're the wrong side of 300 quid for me, or too close to 300 quid for me. So the other thing I printed was this 2-part retaining wall, that's one part. It looks a little bit small to me. It did lift off the bed during print, which you might be able to see a little bit of damage there, but I kept pushing it down as it was printing, because obviously I think there was 100 odd layers, and then it starts to print the abutment wall, so it was out of the way. So I just kept pushing it down and got away with it and left it on the bed to cool, and it flattened it out. But they do a left hand and a right hand, so the other one will obviously have an abutment this side, so you can join the two together. But it looks a little bit undersized to me. It looks more like end scale, but I guess that's based on the perspective of the wall it was designed to be. Obviously you could change it on your print settings anyway. The other thing I've done was these piles, which sort of work on here. These are the biggest ones on the file. Obviously again you could stretch them on the slicer, but they come in 2 parts. That was a separate one. I took the raft off the bottom of that one, left it on that one, because I thought, well, actually it might be an aid to gluing it down. And the other thing I printed, if you remember on the last live, I said the American version of this Hellion kit came with a massive chimney, which it didn't have, but it does now. So we've got this one, which is a 4-part print, sorry. So we've got the crown detail. It is designed for resin and FDM printing. But again, this was one I printed on turbo speed. There is a slight error in the print there. You can see like a ridge, looks like a crack, the wrong way around. That did come up in the slicer software, but it's not in the CAD drawing. I've had it with a couple of things. I think it's to do with the diameter of the filament. But I went and clicked everything I could and kept re-slicing it, and it's still the only thing I changed was managed to move it from that side to the back. So it didn't really improve it. So I gave up in the end and just printed it and thought, well, shit or bust, you know, see how it goes. So you can see there, it just brings this line out for some reason. And I did print this on a raft. These 2 bits were about nearly 3-hour print, but I did speed it up again, which has lost a little bit of the brick definition, but not much. But I thought, well, I'm not too worried, because obviously it's going to be an old chimney that's been up years and years. It's going to have imperfect brickwork, so we'll go with it. And then obviously this has got details for the steel reinforced bands, so that'll be a nice little job trying to pick them out and paint them. And then obviously I've got a steeplejack 3D figure to print, although that'll be when I get the resin printer back going again, so we could do a little Fred Dibner cameo. Hi Raymond. So that's pretty much all that's been going on. So I will get my Ken Dodd tickling sticks. So these were an AliExpress find. One large, long one, and they're a bit like the old shaving brushes. They're very light and fluffy. They're ideal for dusting your locomotives without breaking any handrails and things off, and your keyboard as well. They're quite good. Actually, they work better than a stiff brush. I've done a couple there, but that is a bit dusty in here. Being a garage, Someone did modify the couplings on this. These are all Lima tankers. Coupling conflict there. Some of them have got large Ds, some of them have got a slightly smaller one, but I think they've put a Hornby one on and screwed them in. But the problem is now they've made them closer coupled, they get buffer lock on certain curves. So I might convert these to NEM fitting. In an attempt to alleviate that. It may not alleviate it, it might be too late now. But I know Vectus 3D does some custom designs he's done for various rolling stock. I know he did do the Lima tankers. I think there are some online. We've also got, for some reason, I don't know whether he used different couplers. They don't all sit the same height. They've got the issue. A bit like some of the Dapol wagons where the couplers don't marry up. But these do run nice with the old brass wheels. Not everyone's a fan, I know, but well, they do occasionally derail on here because of these odd curvatures where the track has deformed. Yeah, I don't know whether I'd have got up one of those big old chimneys. I did watch a program years ago on, it was like one of these, you know, like Bad Lads Army. They took a load of wayward kids and gave them the opportunity to train as a steeplejack, which is obviously a well-paid job if you've got the kahunas for it. And they took them up. They took them up to the power station near Thetford in Norfolk, and they had to climb the chimney, which I think they've done it a bit like they do at Bertram Newton Training Centre, where you do your big crane certificate and you have to do the jib walk to pass your test. But they don't get you to do that until you've invested your 2 weeks and $2.5 grand in your training. So obviously that gives you a bit more incentive to go and do it rather than bottle out. I haven't seen those, Ivo, but obviously I'm running English, not European, so well, as English as Lima tankers got, but I have got them older red Texaco things, which are on the, when I get round to unloading all my boxes and going through everything, they'll go on the for sale pile. If you recall, I had one that was, someone had put a bit of ballast in it by mixing plaster or something up, and they filled the tanker up with plaster. That was a solid lump of concrete in it. I used to do street lights on the motorways and A roads on a cherry picker, which could get a bit hairy back in the 80s. Hi JD, hi Anthony. When you were sort of 12 meters in the air with a 4.5 foot long bulb in your hand, trying to screw it back in, and then you'd get the whiff of rubber because some lorry had just met your traffic cones and couldn't get past you and was going too fast. And that was back in the days when you didn't have to wear your safety harness. Because some of us were of the thought, well, if you get hit and catapulted, you might be better off rather than being chained inside the bucket when the truck goes over. Because it did happen to, I think it was electricity board worker. The truck got rear-ended when he was in it, and he got catapulted into a house. And that was the end of his career permanently. So after that happened, they instigated that we all had this. We didn't even have safety harnesses when I first started, unless they were already in the trucks when they picked them up from the council. Never wore one. I even used to stand on the outside step of the bucket when there'd be two of us trying to fit a new lamp fitting. I'd go and stand on the step and have my arm around the outside. Yeah, it's one of those oddities, isn't it, Tom? Sometimes you think, well, it's another armour, it's another tool in your toolbox. Will you ever use it? The bloke I used to work with, he went on every he worked at a company called Metal Box in Wisbech, about 15 miles away from me, and he went on the ladder course, every course, because they were in a union. They used to get like another couple of quid a day for this thing, and another 50 pence a minute, 50 pence an hour in the wages for something else. And they were on the permanent night, so they never used to do any of that work anyway. That was one of those cases, take it, you get paid more because it's on your pay grade. Right, let's see if this thing will work. For some reason, it's got a number entirely different to the running number. Turn the lights on so I know what way we're actually going. I know these chips are a bit coggy on step 1 and 2. After that, they smooth out. I did find all the CV settings, but I've written down on a bit of paper and I don't know where the paper is. Now we've got small decouplings versus big decouplings. I don't know whether it's picking it up on the camera. It's a bit jittery. Let's have it click then. So we'll see how long this goes round the track before something derails. Place your bets, folks. Unfortunately, without a multi-camera setup, I can't really do many angles. Yes, it's what we call the 21st century, Brian. I did have to double up some wire and down here in Spaghetti Junction and here and down there and loop them because I was getting no continuity on the inside loop where it's now going round. And I did try and keep alive going to this track. There's dropper wires here and dropper wires on this side because that's where the board separates. And the other one is here, which as you can see is awful. And then it goes into orbit here, and then there's the bit of track that I had to rip out because the board separates across here, which is the other problem. Over there where that gap is, the track doesn't marry up very well. I keep hearing it click. Which couplers did you order, Raymond? Because I did get from one of their eBay accounts. It's not Eve model, but still them. I bought some of their copy of the KDs, and they came in about 10 days. Although I've ordered some stuff from Amazon that's unbeknown to me coming from China, and it's been a month now. And they've only just now sent me are you happy with your order because you haven't left feedback? Well, I haven't even received it yet. That was only some vacuum cleaner filters for the dog hoover. Hi Tony. Ripped your layout up yet? All back in boxes? Yeah, I know when I chopped up my first layout, because when we were getting married many moons ago, we were going around houses and housing estates that were being in the process of being built, and I was sort of going in the shell of the house and looking up and seeing the modern truss and saying, ain't no good, can't get a railway layout up there because all of the truss worked, which is one of the reasons I went for an older house. And then when we did buy this, we had a hip roof, so we've got no trusses. There's a couple of braces go across the roof, and then the chimney's in the way, but there's only about a foot of space after the chimney anyway, so don't really lose much. And it's got a nice big loft hatch as well, a lot bigger than what you get on a modern house. But by the time we'd sort of moved our stuff out, I'd got her kelter. So we're starting to fill up, and we've had our first jump. I want to see his points here. So I went for the spare bedroom, which was 9'6", banged an 8-foot board down with an extension piece, and it was just a big, oval. But hi Moira. That sort of lasted, and then it jumped again. I think that might be the couplings that's causing that. But that got a bit boring with just having two ovals, which was basically, I think the mistake a lot of us make. You just make a big train set that you had when you was a kid and not a model railway. And operationally, it doesn't leave you a lot. of options. You run a train round a circle, and I sort of built a raised area along the back, but because the time you came off your curve, the incline was so steep nothing could get up it, and then you got to the top of your incline, you could only go round 3 feet and you were at the end of the board. So you could have only ran a small train, flicked the points at the curve and ran back, so it never worked. And I sort of basically done a very similar one in my shed, and that was an L shape. But then child number one came along, so the jigsaw came out. Keeps jumping on that curve. The jigsaw came out and it got strategically cut in several bits and pushed up in the loft. Then it got in the way in the loft. I used some of the board, I used some of the board several years later when I had my shed, and the rest of it stayed up in this garage roof, or the old garage roof. But yeah, I think that's bloody couplers. I've got some large NEM D-ring NEM pocket couplers for this very reason. I don't think it's the world's best track line. There's a bit of a dip there, right on that turnout down here, and there's a board joint there. And I think obviously, well, not these so much. Well, obviously these lift, but with modern rolling stock having smaller profile wheels, your track's got to be even more precise, because you've got less room for error, which I think is why some of the American ones don't like the track, because obviously they've got a lot smaller flange. Hi Andy. Any indiscrepancies in the track and the flanges are above the railhead, and you know where that ends. I think it's one of the next most frustrating things to bad running, bad continuity, which this has had that as well, with some of the wiring under here. I suppose he got in a muddle and he ended up wiring them the wrong way around, because you'll see whites and reds and then reds into whites and vice versa, because the track polarity is obviously soldered them around the wrong way. So the first time I'd done this, I kept turning the switch and getting a short, because I was wiring it red to red, white to white, and we all know it's red to red, white to white, and blue to bits, which it nearly did. Unfortunately, we haven't got a bridge cam. Would have been nice to have one running the other way, but really the layout wants a lot of the track redoing, particularly over the joints, but then it defeats the point of the board being modular, although it will never, you know, this is either going to get took apart, or unless someone wants to buy it and use it as a base project and start all over again. But it may well be part of the donor. It may well end up donating spares to the rolling stock yard or whatever I build. Keep jumping. I'm going to change the wagons around. Did 3D print myself an uncoupler. So I want one with a small coupling. Yeah. I don't think they're any different. I know some of these have got metal ones on them. There's a slightly smaller coupling. So that's the problem we've got. Dapole sized ones, the old Dapole ones. I did see there was some some of the Hornby tankers on eBay, 3 of them for 42 quid. I don't need any more, but I didn't. He did send me an offer. I declined. I don't know how many I have got, but I think that's where it keeps clicking on that coupling. I have to keep an eye on it. Yeah, I did see Dave's little caboose there with the 9-volt battery inside it. Oh dear, no, that hasn't worked very well. We're now derailed in the middle. Yeah, that looked like it was operated off a reed switch at one time, because obviously it's been removed. The modern equivalent would be a magnetic hall sensor, which I keep meaning to order some of those, but I've got the page open on my eBay, not eBay, one of the electronic suppliers that do the right hall sensor. Because I bought some before which are magnetically switched only while the magnet's in the vicinity, instead of a latching. It's come off again. I think it's the coupling jumping on the loco. Yeah, I bought a load of hall sensors and they only work while the magnet's in the vicinity, not passing a magnet by them, because they're far cheaper than latching reed switches, like nearly £4 each. So it's not practical to really, do any coach lighting project. If you've got 10 coaches and you've got to put a magnetic reed switch, latching switch at £4 each, where a hall sensor, though some of them aren't that cheap now. But it's transistor, resistor, reed switch, Now, it's jumped again. It seems to be a bit, I think it's because the big coupling hook is outside and catches against. It's not got the geometry swing. Yeah, I have thought about that. The problem is the conductive couplers aren't cheap, and then you've got to mess around converting every coach. I'm a bit of a tightwad. I like to do things that work on the cheap, not spend more money. I did try, what was it, the Lima Mark IIIs are an absolute pig to get apart without damaging. I damaged the underside of one trying to prise the floor off because it was gone all brittle with its age. Hi, Stuart. And we've had a full detachment now. So I thought the little circuit board with a magnetic hall sensor that's about 70 pence each may be the easier solution, and just use it to switch one of those self-adhesive strips of LEDs, or make a Vero board up so that you can get the LEDs in the right position. Hi, Smallton. How's the Ukraine? Well, you can keep that then, yeah. I think the Baltic states and that will get in the sort of the cold coming down from that other country above you, where we're on a high pressure till the end of the week. I think it's taking the turn for the worst. It's starting to cloud up now. Hopefully it could go either way next week. I would say I'd run my other rake, but that's got big couplings on it as well, so it's probably going to be the same problem. We could put the coaches on, or we could try the American. Let's try the Yankee loco, see how that runs. Get the tankers out of the way. Oops. Wrong switch. Set the turnouts up, and I don't know whether they'll work. We're over the far side. Set the camera up for disaster. I don't know whether I've got this programmed on O3 or what's his running number? 8520. No sign of life, but that could be lack of wiring. Some of these points will swing manually and some don't. Ooh, didn't like that. I know one of these sections was dead last time. I got here. Doesn't look like that, is it? There's another one where the Pico point motor's stuck. Oh, we've got a light, so we might have light but no movement. Why aren't we moving? We've got power. Houston, we have a problem. Of course, it could be on 03 still. Let's try that. There we are. There's your problem. And we've got crappy McHenry couplings. And already we're jammed up on something. Oh, yes. The curse. No. Oops. Just dropped my bear down the river. Oh, no. How about that for a resin pour? I'll just sit under there now where the drip comes out. Never mind. I think yeah. The snow plow's catching on the gap of the track. Oops, now we've got the wheel off. So that's how there's a lot of clearance on that plow then, isn't there? That'll probably catch somewhere else with this track. Well, I won't worry about resin creep, will I? There's no soaking into the fiberboard. That'll smell nice tomorrow. But this is what I was going to say about modern rolling stock. You've got to be a lot more critical with the quality of your track laying. It's not as forgiving as the old stuff with the pizza cutter wheels. And the reason we've only got one wagon instead of two is it's a crappy McHenry coupling and the bits broke off, so it doesn't lock the knuckle coupling. They are on the round to it list, so we might have to change direction with the loco to avoid the dip in the track. We've got a dead spot there as well, but it's got round the track better than the exact same loco from Backman, which is heavier than this one. Spoke too soon. I think there's a dead spot on the track there. There's a few locos doesn't like this section. Yeah, the track's clean. swing that back round the right way. Keep meaning to bring the point switch thingy out. The other thing is a lot of this track is reliant on the continuity from the point blades, which is never a great thing. Yeah, she's banged straight down on that. On that bit of track there. Yeah, there is quite a lip there. Bit of a sharp ridge. Power down. Where will we put the bloody handset? Oh. Go around the other direction. Let's see, I know both of these have got sketchy couplings on them. I keep meaning to bring a re-railer out here. I think this is the wrong way around because that's the one. The American stuff's got smaller wheels anyway, so it makes it even more of a challenge to get on the track. Especially the auto racks. You can't see the bloody wheels because of the bodywork. Oh, that's killed me back, that is. Right, let's have another go. So drop everything on the floor. But it will go on this other corner. That was the other thing I meant to bring out, was a clamp for the camera. So it sounds a little bit clunky, but I don't know what. Oh dear. We've got a lot of beer left. Wheel trucks are a little bit dry on those cars. This is where the back one came unstuck there. We'll see what happens with the snow plough here. I might clear it this way. Is it going to complete a loop successfully? At least you can see them being bright yellow. Looking promising. Well, now I've said that. the other spot the Backman AC44 came adrift every time was on that. I have removed the pins from this track and raised it up with a screwdriver, but as you can see I've got a screw head there keeping that piece of rail in line because the chairs have snapped off. A lot of the track wants reworking and replacing, but the problem is, do I throw the time and money at it when I'm going to be taking it apart in another 2 months or getting rid of it? Where's all my beer gone? Oh no, it's gone under. The only thing was the bloke who had this put plastic down to try and simulate water, I guess, which means the bear's gone underneath the plastic. There's an outtake for you, Brian. Could have been worse. Last week the dog whizzed in here. I told her off. She hasn't done it since, but she has had a sniff where she... So, yeah. It's a bit wobbly on that section. Let's see if it'll take a few more beans. It did run okay on me little oval track in the brewery, but then I hadn't got the undulations. So it's actually the first time I've got an American locomotive run on air successfully. Having said that, it's only the second one I've tried. But last time the TTX rail box kept separating because they've got the crap Henry couplings. Although so's the third loco as well. But they're all sort of little jobs to do on bits of rolling stock modifications, wheel changes, coupling changes. For now, I'm not too worried about the niggly bits when bigger matters are pressing at the minute. I've still got my dad's house to sort out as well. We've got the probate letters today saying once that's signed, they can process that, which is going to be another 8 weeks or 9 time you get the letter and sign it and send it back. And then we obviously got to try and sell the house, which could take, on average, I think about 6 months. Well, the bastards charged 90 quid for one set of letters they drew up and sent to the bank. And then another 20 quid for a phone call to the bank, and another 32 quid for another letter to the bank. That's ended up costing nearly 1,800 quid with the VAT, just for them to write letters. My sister and brother-in-law went into reception and one of them came out to speak to them. They charged 20 quid for that. And if it hadn't have been like a secretary, it would have been even more. So in this direction, it seems to be running okay. A little bit of noise for the wheel trucks on the freight cars. Tell you what, there ain't a lot of clearance on that bridge. I wonder if the double stacks will fit under that. Because the guy did build it as an American layout, but obviously it was of an earlier period. Watch this come on. Do a little bit more. I'll have to get the box out with the double stacks. There's not a lot there. Can't even get my finger under there. Might want a bit of packaging. Lift that up, or we'll have to abandon the bridge. The other part of it has still got the boxed up, so I can't get that out. It'll be a bit sticky tomorrow. I think they might be, Andy. I've got some down in the brewery in a box, so I'll have to dig them out tomorrow if I get a chance. Because there's 10 mil. If that, in fact, it looks like it comes down slightly lower the other side. Same as the board's got a bit of a lean to it, I think. But we can do like that video. I'll put my auto racks on that video on YouTube where they get diverted to another route, put the auto racks through a bridge and tear all the roofs off the auto racks and destroy all the cars on the top deck. How dry they're getting a bit dry. They probably want spraying with a glycerine. I can reuse them again. Try and recycle as much of it as I can, especially the bits of seagrass, because that's gone like Pico Track did during COVID, because the last crop was so shit. They put the price up even more, and the stuff's junk. Hi, John. I was debating whether to get a couple of packs of seeds and try and grow it again. Just chuck the seeds in the front garden, put a bit of sand over them, and if they grow, they grow, and if they don't, they don't. Last time I tried to grow them, we had that hot spell, and they just got annihilated in the summer heat. And it just happened too many times cyclically. It killed 95% of the plants, and then the bloody birds hit the shoots, killed what was left. I think I ended up with about 2 plants that didn't make it. But yeah, I see a couple of boxes there with some like old stock, second-hand seagrass. That went for about £42 a box on eBay. Well, I ain't that desperate for it that I'm going to start paying stupid money just for a bit of bloody weed from the desert in bloody Gobi or somewhere. I know Pete Waterman was moaning about it on the Mega Points videos. We started going to string, hadn't we? You make budlier or something. Because the seagrass is so crap and stringy. And even sort of, you know, a project that size, the amount of seagrass you want to buy to make a tree or something is going to cost you an absolute fortune. If they're not getting sponsorship for everything they use. I have salvaged all the stuff that fell off the layout when I got it at the van. There's 10 quid's worth there on eBay. Now there's 20. We'll start making more money than copper and lead. I'm missing some more rail box cars, really. I do like them, but there's some on eBay at the minute, but they're a little bit Kiwi priced. These ones are from a company I've never heard of before. They're not in existence anymore. Is IHB or something? Where the boxes are gone now. LBF, something like that. So at least it runs this direction. It doesn't like the other direction with the track. That means somewhere else I've got a shim. Try and pull the track pins out and shim it to bring it up, which is a lot of the problems on the board joints. The height discrepancy between the tracks or the lateral movement has thrown them so far out of kilter they're not usable. This return loop that I can't use because it's on behind the laptop is damaged. But, unless I can get a little table or something to put under here to put the laptop on, so I can clear the bit where the laptop is and re-establish that bit of track. But really, I haven't got that much time to sort of sit here and mess about with it. When, like I say, a few more months' time, it may well I'll be leaning over it, pulling all the pins out, taking it all apart. Because I don't know whether, because obviously when getting well ahead, when I get to the build stage and the building's erected and I'm needing to cut wood and bits and pieces, obviously I would normally be under here with my saw and chop saw as my workspace, with the van above me as it is now, which it still will be because there's nowhere else for it to go. Whether to try an alternative arrangement depends on the weather, really, and whether we have any storms. If I put a gazebo up in the yard and have that as a work site area and keep this up, or take this down and come indoors to do some of the timber work. Maybe dependent on the weather as to what happens there, because obviously we start getting bad weather and that's my choice. I'll have to come in here and do it. I've still got bits and pieces down my dad's garage to clear out. So that again is space is at a premium. If we're going to sell the house, then everything's got to be taken out, gotten rid of. There's, you know, pine furniture, paintings, corner units and stuff. Trouble is, a lot of it's sort of the old dark wood that people don't want nowadays, so you can't even sell it. No, John, this will end up like a kidney donor. Possibly, anyway, unless someone wants to wave some cash in front of my face and take it away from me, it will be taken apart and scavenged and probably be used in the storage yard area and used for parts. I haven't got a hard and fast plan for what I'm doing in the shed other than what I sort of said in my previous video or short or whatever it was, where I'm going to do probably look a bit like Sparky's but the other way around, because obviously the building's going to be a long rectangle, so I want to do a lower level to keep all the rolling stock on, and then you'll come up from the storage area into a large one level scenic area, which I don't know whether that will be the English side or the American side. Then into a helix probably, unless I can do an incline over the 28-foot run and round the bend. So there'll be like three levels. Top level will be the smallest, shallowest one with the London North Eastern 30s, 40s steam railway. Then the diesel era railway on the lower level, or the next level down, and then the third main level will be the biggest sort of area, which will probably share some of the English operational run and like the American scene with the various Wolfers kits. And then there's sort of like a crossover where the mine, I've got the Wolfers mine kit, so that will be used for British coal trains running to the power station, and then flip coin, it will be used to run Norfolk and Southern coal trains to the power station, depending on whether we're sort of running an English layout or a US layout. The only difference being obviously the curves have got to be larger on the American rolling stock. So I've got to take that into consideration. So one of the peninsulas will have the power station with the return loops, and then two loops inside the power station for coal tracks for the trains to come in, dump the loads, and come back out onto the main, and then probably, I don't know, having a split level where there'll be another loop go around the outside of that scene as a return loop for the circuit. So, and then back round and up to the coal mine on the higher level, or something like that. That's how it works in my head. All the best, Smallton. Hi, Andrew. Didn't see you coming in, but yeah, we're going to get to the close out, I guess. 5 to 9. I had the missus stay up tonight so that I could stay on till 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And I'm talking crap, so obviously we've gone on till 9 o'clock. So this has been the best running train all night, as the couplings kept playing up with the English one, with the variation in sizes and diameters and swings. And these having McHenry couplings, I'm surprised they've stayed coupled. So yeah, if Peter Lloyd Lee wants to do any pro bono work on a layout, design a 4-level multiplex, English, American, and steam era layout. I want my cake and eat it. So I'm sure I'll figure it out. It'll be years in the making, no doubt. It's just a case of whether the dual level, which is sort of common in the UK, to maximise the amount of trackage and scenery you can use, doing a split level on one layer, like most of the loft layout people do, is to utilise that on the main base level to give you some more run length and more scenic possibilities, and then maybe a shelf on the second layer, because I've got sort of little scenes to do. I've got housing estate that can be built, new build housing estate, and some being built still. So that will take up a bit of space. Then there's the refinery. I've 3D printed a load, plus I've got the Walters kit, plus the tanks. I'm not going to go too mad on tanks because obviously they take up real estate, but then you need trackage for all the tankers to be stored. So I think some of it will have to end up being a bit of a compromise on what I think I can do and what reality actually says I can do. Because at the minute, the refinery again would be a dual purpose thing, but I can't get any American tankers. Well, not fuel tankers anyway. I've got 3 or 4 gas ones and China clay stuff, slurry, and I've picked up another 3 are coming. 2, well, the 2 I've just turned up, they'll be in videos down the line, and then there's another one doing this week. There's some more come up on eBay, but again, they're not fuel tankers. They're all not corn syrup, though, something else. I can't remember now. That depends on whether I obviously win them anyway. But because everyone's probably in the same boat, they're prepared to pay more to win them than I am. So we get knocked out of the running before I even put a bid in some cases. So I will pull the train in for its last run. The crew's probably outlawed now, running over time. But at least we've got a clean sweep on the US one, so I can try a few more of the. I don't know whether the auto racks will cope with these curves. I think they're 22-inch when I put them on the track set, but if they're English, they're 21.5. And that does make a difference with some of them. Hello. What are you doing, trouble? No. Don't even think about squatting your legs. Off you go. You got a garden to whizzle dizzle in? All of you, including your bloody fluff. They're both orange at the minute because the hardcore I'm using for my patio is a local material called Carstone, which is orange, which means the dogs are now orange because they keep lying down in it while I'm out in the garden. Yeah, any sort of specific fuel tankers, you can't even, like the sort of 23,000 gallon, a lot of the stuff that turns up is the old ones with the big domes that are out of period. Or, they're the small 11,000, 13,000 gallon ones and not the big 23 and 28,000 gallon tankers that are more the size of like my Lima ones. And there's no 3D printed files for those. There are box cars and hoppers and cool cars, but no one's managed to do, I suppose, because printing a circle is a bit hard on a 3D printer. But yeah, there are some similar box cars. I've got files that are similar, like the waffle style. So I might print some of them off, depending on what they come out like. But I have got some old blue box ones I'm going to respray in the newer liveries when I get around to it. Obviously, they're all little jobs down the line when I've got my spray booth and things done. I'm not really worried. I want to get the building built first this year as my target. get the building done, and then sort out all the rolling stock and rebox it so I know what's in what boxes. Stack that up the corner, and hopefully I can fit it all in, and then start building the layout framework. I might do the slot shelving on the walls and have it on brackets, a bit like I've got there. They do take quite a bit of weight. I want the floor to try and avoid having legs in case I do end up having to use a wheelchair in the future, so that the foot plates don't foul. Leg work being in the way, so everything will be diagonally braced or have to hang off the wall. But that's all down the line. Okay, that's it then. I'll wind it and call it quits. Don't forget to thumb up the video, see if it'll do some algorithm magic. Unlikely. We normally get at least one person thumbs down every video I do, but if they've got nothing else better in life to do than thumb my video down, more power to their thumb, or they could thumb it down twice. Right, take care everyone. We'll see you on the next video or the next live stream that I do, which could be whenever, who knows, whenever I get the inkling during the daytime, probably if the weather's crap. But fingers crossed we'll keep good weather and I can crack on with my other jobs. Cheers all then, catch you again.